So, guys, this is definitely a mixed podcast here with Abel and I. Probably at least the first half is going to just be me catching up with Abel. If you've seen the video on his channel, we discussed that and what he's been going through the last year or so. We go into a lot of like non-fitness related stuff, just kind of casual conversation, and then we do later get into some fitness stuff as well. So obviously, you can just look at like the time stamps and whatnot. But yeah, just wanted to kind of put that out there here first. All right, everybody. So today we have back on podcast Abel Csabai. How we doing, man?
I'm doing okay, doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. By the time this comes out, I would have just had a Q and A. So we were just discussing. That is Q&A 17 of the channel. All 1 through 16 have basically been together. And I made a joke at the start of the podcast. I said, Abel and I, we are no longer on speaking terms and whatnot, and obviously joking. But I think I will still try to get some more like solo content out there just in general because what I said on the podcast is it's just as obviously it's like you have these things you want to talk about, and there's just that kind of barrier to do it because like it's got to be this setup and this and that. So we'll see how the algorithm takes it and the views do because it's obviously a lot easier to just sit here and just record compared to getting the whole setup and everything. Um, but yeah, so
Yeah,
so
yeah. I'm jealous of that solo episode because like I always thought that it would be cool to do one because I mean, not that I'm going for low effort for my channel, but I mean, if you're not really in the mode for a ton of creative stuff, I mean that's like a low
yeah.
barrier to entry sort of content piece, and it would be just very cool if I knew that okay, no matter what, I'll do one Q&A video for my channel.
Yeah.
That could be cool. How did it do? Did it
Well,
do well?
that's what I was gonna say. So it's being released tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So obviously tomorrow, like as in third, well, 13th or 14th, we'll see of June. So, um, but my prediction is it will get maybe half the views that it normally does. We'll see.
Hmm.
And I also just actually I found that after I was done, it was it was fine. I didn't enjoy it as much as I maybe thought I would. Not that I thought it would be like amazing, but obviously the discussion with you and everything is part of that too. Just speaking solo, it's fine. But I always remember how Greg Knuckles discussed in like this was like years ago. It's like, if you're going to be in the fitness industry, you have to realize that you're going to say the same things over and over and over. And the reality is that's
Yeah.
any industry, any job, right? Like the number of times I told a patient, well, when we do the surgery, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. I've said it thousands of times, but you go into that knowing this is my job. So I think if you were like, I work for Renaissance Periodization and this is what I do, like then that's one thing. If it's more of like well, I do this out of enjoyment, then you start to find like, oh, this is actually not that enjoyable because it's been 1,000 times, or this is less enjoyable. So, which is actually a discussion we can touch on a little bit more. But I know you
Yeah.
said, well, we can just kind of jump to that because you said in your video how you are a little less enthused with the fitness industry, right, compared to like 5 years ago, as far as a career path, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, that is more so the career path side of things is more of yeah, fear of how viable it's gonna be in the future. Sorry, my cat is berserking. Oh yeah, my cat is back. If someone didn't hear it, so that's good news. So part of it is that, and the bigger part, what I was touching on in my video was more so just the fitness industry in general. Is that like I'm just in a very different place as far as my mentality regarding fitness. But yeah, it is definitely honestly the AI thing is big. Probably I'm overly worried compared to how soon that's going to be the reality of things, and probably I'm taking myself as the baseline here, and I'm going off of my own experience with something like ChatGPT, because I was using it for studying and yeah, for getting information and things that people usually use it for, and I was just thinking a lot of the times that man, I mean, if this is gonna get even better than this, and this is already amazing, but in 5 years, like who's gonna need a consultant of any
Oh, sure.
kind?
Yeah.
That was my main thing. But yeah.
Yeah. I plenty to say on the AI thing. So it is amazing to me how good and how bad ChatGPT and Grok and these things are because man, like there are certain thought processes I've had over the years where it's like, okay, I wonder how this would be, but I just don't feel like sitting down and running the numbers myself. But then I can just put that into AI, and I mean, within seconds, you get this very complex answer, and it's amazing. And some of the things that like I've worked through, it's just it's incredible. And yet, then I can put the simplest thing and it messes it up.
Yep,
And it's like, how? And it
absolutely.
confidently messes it up. Like
Hmm.
I wanted to, somebody who works for me, they get a bonus based on the number of this thing. And so rather than have to count it, I wanted to just put it in and say, okay, how many are here? And the actual number was 35. And it just said, there are 30 here. And I was like very confident. I was like, no, okay. So then I tried on Grok and it said, there are 50 here. It's like, no, I tried again. There are 49 here. And I was like, wow, like just like blatantly wrong. For something that
Yep.
is that's like an easy thing, right? Like that's like a pretty easy thing. So it's amazing. Like some of the stuff it spits out is incredible, and other stuff I'm just like, this is so absurd.
Yeah, yeah, it exactly the same experience. One thing that I learned now for a long time is that it just gets into this error loop, which
Mhm.
once it gets into it, it just cannot get out. So I don't know if you've experienced that, but something like that. And then after that is basically no matter how you're trying to instruct it or whatever, it's just gonna keep making the same error. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it will literally make the same exact error like 5 times in a row. So if that happens, I know that okay, just open a new chat and kind of start from scratch basically, or start where you were where you got stuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I mean the other day it was writing something in Hungarian, and I mean it made a like a very like elementary school level like misspelling basically, which that's the strangest thing to me because like I would think if there's one thing where it's basically 100%, it's always going to be right is
Right.
exactly these things because you just need to tap into like a pool of information and you're just
Right.
taking it out. So or yeah, simple calculation errors like that. And yeah, then at the same time, I mean, for the thing that I'm studying, which I didn't say exactly what it is, or did I say anything about it in the video, like what field it is? Like it's
Um,
IT related.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, so it's IT related. It's not coding, but yeah, it's along those lines basically. And I mean, basically that was my personal tutor. Like I was following some courses online so far, but we are just like taking the outline and the transcripts of videos, and based on that, it makes me quizzes and flashcards and outlines the plan for that week. I mean, it's really remarkable. And then it makes errors like that. It's just strange.
It is. I had that same loop thing happen where I tried to make a YouTube thumbnail with it. And I had said something about, I guess the text I wanted to put in there could have been seen as like body shaming or something. That at
Oh
least
yeah,
that's how
yeah.
it interpreted it. So then it was like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make this image. So then I tried like a different thing. And it was like, oh, I can't make this image. And then it gave me a suggestion. It said, try this prompt to solve it. And then I literally said, okay, do that. I literally just wrote, okay, do that. And then it loaded and then it said, we cannot do that either. And I'm like, you gave me
Oh
the
shit.
prompt. then
Oh no.
and now in that thread, I basically can't make any thumbnail. Like everything I try is just like this goes against the
Oh,
guidelines. I'm like, okay, so yeah, like you said, you got to just start
that
over.
okay. Well, that okay. That's disappointing to hear because that's what I was gonna say. That's like a good way to get around it. So normally I'll just ask right away, like, okay, so how could I rephrase this question so that it doesn't violate the
Hmm.
policies or whatever? And then yeah, well, I just say, okay, cool. Then can we do that?
Yeah.
And so far it worked for me, but yeah, like this violates the policies, that violates that drives me bonkers. Honestly, like that's why I'm not even really using that Sora, that image
Hmm.
generation and video
Yeah. Yeah.
generation thing because it's just so annoying when like it will be a picture that he generated, it generated, uh, and it's like fills it up in the background with some people, and it's like, okay, could we make that image so that the people are not dressed in the exact same clothing and they're a bit more random so that it's more believable? And it's like, okay, all of a sudden it violates the policies. Like,
Yeah.
what? Like, you made the picture. Like, nothing here.
Right.
It's not violating anybody.
Yeah, no, it is annoying. So for people who don't know, I mean, maybe we should have started with this. So Abel put out a video on his channel. He's been away. I don't know if you've been on much YouTube other than my own channel in the last year or two, maybe like a guest elsewhere here and there, maybe like for
Not really.
Hormone or something like that. But
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
but for the most part, it's here. And so I would recommend listening to it. And he basically just kind of goes into, that his divorce and whatnot. So we're gonna go through every tiny detail about the divorce here, all the conversations, screenshots.
If you said this to me like 2 months ago, it would have been dangerous because I would have jumped on it immediately and would have
Yeah,
started
yeah.
talking about it.
No, so I mean, obviously, you can just go watch the video. But one, Abel, I wasn't sure if there was anything you didn't say there or that you want to say here. And then two, I wanted to mention the new career, so that you just touched on, and I also want to get into video games because you talked about that a little too.
Oh yeah. Phew. So no, honestly, I was just thinking as I was making the video that I like those are actually all cool topics, I think. Like I mean the whole topic like relationships have been always interesting to me, and I was always jealous of these people to some extent that are discussing topics like this on their platforms, because it feels like at least it's an endless pool
Hmm.
of things. Probably when you're in it, you're also eventually run out of completely new things to say. But I find them interesting, and this whole experience was, as much as it was a difficult period, like intellectually, it was very fascinating to me. And honestly, like I can really honestly say that even though it has ended like this, like my view and opinion on marriage, which didn't mean anything to me before, as well as serious relationships, living together with someone, all of this like only became better. So throughout all of this, and still is I think very highly of these things. So and also like the whole like dating more like these platforms like Tinder and Bumble. I mean, it is just an absolute minefield. Like I think it's a fascinatingly interesting thing to discuss as well. So I was just thinking that, man, like if I really wanted to say everything here, it would be a very, very long video. And I was thinking how much room there is to be discussing some of these in the future.
Yeah,
And I'm hoping that there might be some interest for that because I would love to get into some of those things like later on as well,
sure.
as well as video games. Like I think it's super interesting.
Yeah. Well, doesn't natural hypertrophy talk about video games as well?
Yeah, he made a video series on that, which I was I think like 4 videos or something.
Okay.
And yeah, I remember watching it when I was like not really yet at the point where I was ready to admit that I'm having a problem. But I mean,
Mm.
I kind of knew it because he was saying a bunch of things on how video games make you think and the experience it gives you and how it sucks you in and makes you addicted basically, and also less motivated to do other things. And I was thinking like, yep, like that's me. That's also me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I guess I was in a stage of not even denial, just was not in a headspace to be really trying to self improve, I suppose.
Sure.
So, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
think the
he does.
relationship stuff is just universally interesting to almost everybody. Whether you're in a relationship or not, it's something that people, of course, are interested in discussing and knowing about it and whatnot. But yeah, it is like a lot of this stuff with technology. It is truly amazing if you compare not like 2012 basically to now. Obviously there were people who, were in like more of the dating scene and people who were more naturally monogamous and all that stuff, but it was almost completely based on your local status, right? Whether you were in
Mm,
college and whatnot, especially if you were in school still, then it wasn't completely like, your status and whatnot. But it was just people in person. And now it's almost odd when you hear that somebody met somebody in person, right? I mean, it is
mm,
just the norm that you're meeting on dating apps, and pretty much most people I know who are still in the dating pool, they are meeting these people on dating apps, and of course, because of that, there's a lot that you don't know about people, right? You don't necessarily know. I mean, you could imagine how if somebody, if you had like, and honestly, I think about this from like a woman's standpoint even more so, where if you met a guy, you're gonna meet his friends, you're gonna meet like enough people that like if this guy is really weird or is just like a strange character, you're gonna know. Whereas like I can think of this one guy in dental school who was just like, I mean, he actually got expelled or suspended or whatever. He had to basically take like a year off, right? And he was just kind of universally known in the school as like just kind of being like a weird guy.
Mm.
And but he is a doctor of some type, right? So he could just go on an app and just, have that status immediately. And who knows how many like women would just not know that, right? So like there's obviously that aspect of it there. I mean, there's so much. Now, the other side of that, of course, is you can much more likely meet somebody who truly is a good fit, right? Because if you're like 30 and single, right, so you're no longer in school, where are you going to find somebody who meets the, attractiveness level, interest in hobbies, family values, all these things? Whereas you can just go on an app and be like, I want this, 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 and now you're searching among like thousands of people. I mean, it totally makes sense that that's the way you would do it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's very much a mixed bag, and I mean, at first, to me, it was I started to think whether it's really any better for me than trying to even like trying to meet people in person because I faced the reality that I know a lot of guys face. Like I was just getting like absolutely no responses whatsoever.
Hmm.
Then I did the magic trick that I told you about. I changed my age filter. So,
Right, right.
and then all of a sudden I was getting all the responses. That's, by the way, another very interesting thing, like how differently women at least behave just like a couple of years apart. It's honestly fascinating. Like 35 or under, it like you seriously have to like move heaven and earth to arrange a date of any kind. Like you will need to like chat for like 2 weeks at a time, and like if your second word is like, do you want to catch up? Like they're just gonna think that you're a creep and like leave me alone. 35 and over, like often they will be the ones that are suggesting it. So and honestly, like on a big sample, I've seen this, and I don't know why, but because it's kind of a generational difference if it's on like 2 years difference. But anyway, so it is definitely interesting, and like I'm even noticing it on myself, like how it changed my behavior the longer I use these apps. So I noticed that okay, like eventually I was not even like really trying hard. Like I knew that okay, I can basically do what this guy does. So I mean, I can give an elevator pitch to someone on an app like this, which will want to make anyone meet me unless they just really don't like me physically on a picture or something. But like yeah, like I can present everything that I did and I'm doing currently and make it sound like amazing. Plus, like, I throw in a couple of my goofy jokes and whatever. It's like, oh my God. Like some of them even ask me like, it's like, Abel, so where's the issue? Because it all looks too amazing. Like, well, what's the problem? I was thinking, oh, you will see soon enough. But let me have this moment.
I imagine that there's just going to be so much implementation of AI with this stuff as well, where it's just, I mean,
Oh,
obviously there's already bots and stuff on these dating apps, but I'm sure that it's even more so going to just be like, okay, this is just written for you. Like there's just going to be people who are having conversations and neither of them is actually writing what the other one is responding to, and it's just going to be a mess.
yeah. Yeah, but but I definitely noticed, and that's why like recently I deleted these apps because I honestly just grew sick of it, and probably like I mean unless things turn out differently, I would be using them again. But I noticed that the longer I used it, I just started becoming like more and more impatient
Mm,
because like every conversation obviously starts the same way. Like okay,
sure.
like I know exactly at what point. Like sometimes I was making a game out of like predicting when they were gonna say what.
Right, right, right.
So like when I saw that okay, like when she wrote something like okay, so to get serious for a second, I was like, okay, now ask me what I do for a living. Like she's like, oh yes, what do you do for a living? So
Yeah.
it became so predictable that I noticed that I'm not even my heart, my head was just not in it in the beginning. And I was like almost looking to just cut through the fluff and to get to the point where there could be some sort of issue. Because initially I was like all in, like every conversation, it was sacred. I gave it my all. And then I had a couple of experiences where I would meet someone and seemingly everything was great. I talked about this a bit in my video. And then just out of the blue, something which I could never see coming. Like I was thinking of things that could be a mismatch with this person, but all of a sudden, like there was literally one instance. I'll just share. I think I told you this, but like the girl just told me that. So listen, so I because of past experiences and stuff, like I have this phobia where I'm afraid that you're gonna basically like beat the shit out of me or something like this. And she really reassured me that I did nothing, absolutely nothing to make her feel that way, but something, like because of some past abusive relationship or something. And I was like sitting at this table here on the phone, and I was like, what do you say to that?
Yeah, right.
So I guess that was that. And so, and you cannot, like, if you want to approach people in the future and you want to like think about what are the things that are important to you, like, are you going to write this on your list? Like, okay, so partner preferences, not be like, let's not be afraid that I will beat the shit out of them. It's like, no, like it's just one of those things that just random weird things can happen.
Yeah.
So because of this, like, I guess I also became like jaded, and I definitely noticed that, like, okay, like this is not a good way to approach interactions. Like I was almost looking at people on these platforms like just some products on a conveyor belt. It's inevitable, basically.
Right.
Cannot even imagine how women feel there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So on the video game topic, it's interesting to me because I've heard people discuss similar things. I've discussed a little bit on the channel before, but like, so my background with video games is pretty minimal. When I was really young, like everybody, yeah, 8 years old, playing Pokemon and whatnot on a Game Boy. The only real game I got into as far as that was on like a console was, I remember making fun of my brother for playing Kingdom Hearts. I don't know if you've heard of the game. I think we talked about it at one
Yeah, you
point.
told me that you loved that game as well, right?
Yeah, well, so I made fun of him for it, and then I played it, and I liked it. So, like, growing up, I
Mm.
played that. But, like, I mean, my brother and his friend, they were, like, heavy into World of Warcraft. And I had a few friends who mentioned that they were, never got into anything like that at all. But I know some people who, like, just their lives were on it, right? Just constantly. For me, Super Smash Brothers was my thing. Like growing up, loved it, played every iteration of it. Actually, like did some low level competing with it. And it's like the one time, and I can understand the escapism that comes with video games. So I remember we were at the beach, this was like a couple years back, and I never really play anything on my own, but if we're like in a setting like that, like yeah, I'll play. And it was just one of those rare times where I was like, there's nothing else I'd actually rather be doing right now. Like my mind is not thinking of the thousand things it normally thinks about. I'm just in this moment playing this game, and it's competitive and I like the competition. And it's just like truly like one of my favorite things to just zone out. But I never really do it on my own, right? So I'm talking like it's a couple times a year. But I could see how if somebody just wants to get away, how you have some of these like story mode games where this is just like what you do. So maybe you can elaborate on like how that kind of wrapped you in personally, because it sounds like you were pretty far down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, so like the very odd thing about the video games is that I had a console in my room basically for the last 20 years, always. And not only did I not get hooked on it, but I I didn't even think that much of it. Like I always used it, like often daily, but it was always like kind of like lasting in the day, just as a way of unwinding. I would listen to some podcasts, um, but I never spent an afternoon even doing nothing else but playing video games. That would only happen if it was some like really mega boring period, and I just felt super uninspired. But I got bored of it quite quickly, to be honest. And now in retrospect, I understand that it was because I played with only one game and one game only, and that was FIFA, or now it's called EAFC, I think, but it's this soccer game. And you can only do so much of that. And so what happened was that basically at the very end of 2023, so the beginning of the 2024 year, I was dealing with something in my relationship, which was like perhaps the main thing or one of the things anyway that led to its demise. And it was just like really beating me up. Long story. That's a separate podcast on its own probably to really dig into that. But I just couldn't really discuss it effectively with my ex. And I was just driving myself crazy. I was always thinking about it. It kept me up at night, during the nights even. And I was feeling like my usual escape mechanisms, like going to the gym, were just not doing it. I mean, the gym definitely helped, but it was just an hour of my day. And that's when I discovered my first like story type game in very intimate detail. And that was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for anyone curious. And that was like, honestly, perhaps for the first time, the only thing that I noticed could really distract me from what was bothering me. And it distracted me for like hours and hours. And, you know, often I would have like an issue falling asleep. I would stay up until late at night, which only got worse, much worse during this period. And like I could just really get lost in it. And I mean, that opened up a whole new chapter for me, because definitely the game, like the one game that I played before, which was FIFA, that definitely didn't give me this experience. But still, I would say that at this point, I was only scratching the surface. So I spent a lot of hours with that game. So I would have to like download an app, I think, to check it. But I spent like at least 500 hours with that game, very possibly more. But I would still mostly chalk this up to like, okay, this was a good way of distracting myself. And I was having fun with the game and I didn't feel bad about it. And still like the game after that, which was, by the way, the most beautiful game I've ever seen. Wouldn't say the best game, but the most beautiful game, Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah, I really think that everybody should experience that game once at least, because it's amazing. I played an ungodly number of hours with that game as well, but still I was having fun, and I definitely didn't feel like it was in control of me. Like I very deliberately picked that activity, and I there was no guilty feelings. Actually, my ex often like sat there and she was watching it. Oh, like this is amazing. Actually, she was often like cheering me on when there was some like difficult mission. So it was even like a good like family activity, if you will. And then I think that I'm not sure like which really did it. The next types of games that I tried, which was the main culprit, or it was just a matter of like sticking with it for so long and slowly forgetting to enjoy other things that I used to enjoy. But definitely a big like pivotal moment was when I tried out these. It's basically a type of game that people refer to, which is called Souls games or Souls-like games. So Souls games, Dark Souls, it was made by this company, FromSoft, and their games are all known for a couple of things, but the main things are that they are very difficult. All of them are like these melee sword fighting games. That's the only type of game I played with besides FIFA. They're very difficult. They will really challenge you. And they have no difficulty level. So that's a big thing. They have no easy mode, hard mode, or nightmare mode. There's one difficulty level. And I guess that's a big part of why they became such a cult-like thing within the industry. Because like you know, when you talk to someone who completed a Souls-like game or a actual Souls game, is that you both shared the same experience. Like you don't have to ask whether they completed on easy or hard. And besides being difficult, they're also incredibly good at being an unbelievable time sink. Like you waste time with that type of game like you will with nothing else. And honestly, so that was the kind of thing that if someone told me that, okay, you can play video games every day but only an hour or only 2 hours, let's say, which is a generous amount of time, I would say then I might as well just not play it. Because there is no point. Like you cannot just play 2 hours. At least I don't know how anybody could with those games. You just don't get anywhere. Like the point of this game is that you spend an unbelievable amount of time with it. And so I mean, and I would say that was game over. Like when that started, like that was the road towards like hardcore getting hooked on it. And I definitely noticed that things that I enjoyed before just didn't interest me. Like it got to the point where my ex would be out of town, like she would go somewhere with her family, and my first thought was like, oh my, finally I can do this like completely guilt-free. I don't need to pretend like I'm about to be done or wait for her to go to bed to start again. And I would like legit, like I would wake up early and to start early.
Wow.
And man, at the very, very peak, it's kind of crazy to say, but like I would pull an all-nighter, literally, would just stay up all night. And then I would, so my cover story would always be that I'm resetting my circadian rhythm so that I can now go to bed at a reasonable hour. So I would just not go to bed, but then I would pull the all-nighter, would stay up past the 24-hour mark, and then like go to bed like, I don't know, 6 hours later the next day. So like, I don't know, like over 30 hours. And I would just basically only get up to go to the toilet and to get some food. But even that, like, you know, sometimes I would press the start button and then I would like quickly scarf down.
Yeah.
It's a good way of getting over like disordered eating, perhaps, for some people, because you just stop caring about food as well. But
Well, actually, I said something like that to Sam the other day. I said, you know, because I just don't have as much time anymore. So I was thinking like I've had a little bit more food focus, and I said this in my recent Q&A, how maintaining this level of leanness has been easier than it ever would have been any other time in my life. But there is still some food focus compared to if I was 15% body fat, but not dramatically. But I said I think part of that is it's just like a hedonic thing to do that's a break from work. And I said, honestly, if you said, okay, 3 times a day, you're going to get to stop working and go play a half an hour of Super Smash Brothers. Or 3 times a day, you're going to do, you know, whatever, you're going to hang out with friends. I would just probably equally look forward to those things. So not that I'm denying that there's an increased food focus with being leaner, obviously there is, but I really do think a big part of it is just like most of my day is working or productive to some degree. And it's kind of just like, oh, when do I get my next break? Right? It's like a hamster or so. It's like, oh, when do I get my next thing?
yeah,
And that's so I think like it's unfortunate in a sense that like it's conflated with the rare time in my day that is not working and a little bit hedonic, right?
yeah.
And so video games, you know, in your case, would kind of be the same thing. It's like it probably is helpful when dieting if you can just be either like really busy with work or have something like you know video games. Because I think anybody who's gotten really lean would say the worst thing is just to sit around with nothing to do because then you could just think about food all day.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so actually, this was something that I used to say a lot on my channel, that I think one thing that is making it harder for us to have a healthy relationship with food, besides the fact that we're always like in and out of deficits, purposeful deficits, and counting our food and everything, is that like because of like the nature of fitness and the nature of maintaining good body comp, is that you need to eliminate a lot of things from your life, or at least like very strictly limit it, which are kind of the cornerstones of how people like to have fun. Like we don't binge drink, at least like ideally, like most people that are hardcore into fitness are not into that. We don't do drugs, again, like ideally, typically, whatever. And like a lot of the things that you think of, like what do people like in their 20s? I'm not in my 20s anymore, believe it or not.
Mhm.
But you know, what do younger people do? Like a lot of those things you will say no to, as you know. I mean, you experienced a lot of this when you were in school. And so, then what do you do when you're done with work or with school and you go home and then you can enjoy your free hours? You're not gonna have a bunch of boxes of beer, but there is food. So that is definitely a difficulty. And yeah, like in this case as well. So had things been different if I had a bunch of things that I can fall back on and a bunch of things that excited me around that time, I would guess so. But yeah, like for example, with my YouTube channel, I was in the middle of this huge hiatus at that time as well. I was like, okay, how am I gonna return? What am I gonna say? Like, what's gonna be my return video? Like the whole thing just seemed confusing and scary. Okay, let's do another couple of hours of Sekiro or Neo 2 or whatever I was playing with at the time. And yeah, like I'm gonna think about it later. Like there was this thing where I wanted to come home and hang out with some old friends, and there was like one like good motivator to like getting really good shape for the summer because like we were gonna do something cool, like go to some festival or something. Then that fell by the wayside. What wasn't going to happen, that definitely set me back. So like there are always circumstances, but definitely I had to experience it firsthand. Like I can now understand how these World of Warcraft dungeon people come to be. I can understand their mindset completely. Like now I really hear what they're saying when they're talking about it.
Sure. All right, so changing topics to something also, well, more related to the fitness industry than this stuff. I just wanted to, I was like, should I make a video on this? I'm like, I'm not going to make a whole video on this. But Johnny Candido did, which was the 100 men versus gorilla meme I'm sure you've seen going around.
Um, is there like an actual like video where
Oh, you
100
haven't
men
seen
are up
this?
against a gorilla?
No, you haven't seen this? This is like everywhere. I'm shocked. Unless it's just my algorithm, but I feel like I've seen this all over the
Maybe
place.
I have. Wait, 100. Okay, so if I Google or YouTube it, then is
Yeah, I mean,
some short videos gonna?
it's no, it's not a video of it. It's a discussion going around everywhere about could 100 men beat a gorilla? Like who would win in that fight?
Oh, okay. So the reason I wasn't sure is because on Quora and on sites like this, like questions like this, I see them all the time. So
Yeah. So this has been
okay.
a meme for, I don't know, 1 or 2 months now. Maybe longer than that. I've seen it for the last couple of months. And I just want to say I am shocked at the number of people who not only think it would be close, but that a gorilla would dominate 100 men. Like people are saying, like I mean, some people are like, this is absurd. Of course, a gorilla is just going to destroy them. They couldn't do anything to a gorilla. One idiot, one moron had said, imagine if this is like a human fighting 100 chihuahuas. There's no way 100 chihuahuas could beat me in a fight. And I'm like, okay, why don't you try fighting 100 chihuahuas and see what happens, bro? You're going to die. And I think people are just completely discounting at least from what I'm seeing, I have seen more people say the gorilla. And then there's these pictures where people are showing these like 20
King
foot tall
Kong.
gorilla. Yeah, I'm like, do you guys know what a gorilla looks like? You realize an average gorilla is like 350 to 500 pounds. Like, I would put my money on if you had like 10 strongmen versus a gorilla. I would put my money on the strongmen by far. Like, I was literally just at the zoo 3 weeks ago and I'm looking at this gorilla and I'm like, are you guys out of your mind? Like, obviously, one person, yes. 5 people, yes. 100? I don't think there's an animal on the planet outside of like an elephant, maybe a rhino.
Yeah,
I mean, just because from an elephant standpoint, it's like, what are you even
giraffe,
gonna do
maybe.
to it? You know, like you just wouldn't be able to impact it enough. But
Or
anyway,
hippo.
even then, like man, you get the eyes and everything. I think that the elephant you just wouldn't. I don't know if you stack enough people on or something. But gorilla, it's not even close. And so this is just my rant about that. That I just think that the whole thing is totally
So
absurd.
so I'm thinking about it now. So you know what the thing is that like I actually think that if this actually happened in practice, I actually would not be completely sure that the gorilla would not win. Not because it's stronger than 100 men, but first of all, like technically, like unless they have like weapons and stuff, then it's different. But or at least like some log or something that they can hit the gorilla with. But if they are just with bare hands, like there's only so many that can get around it, for one thing. But okay, still quite a few of them can. But the problem is that like they would have to be very brave, man, because like you know how it is. Like after the gorilla like snatched off the heads of the first like three, like I just kind of really see the fourth and the fifth like still like going up to it and
So this is
like
not
okay,
like one and then one and then one.
well no, I
This is
know,
100 men. I think people are totally
yeah,
discounting. Like, have you
yeah,
ever
like
seen like a mob fighter or something like that? Like, if you have one versus five, dude, if
yeah,
Francis Ngannou had, if you don't know who it was, like heavyweight champion of the world, UFC, uh,
hmm
any of those, five adult men versus one. I mean, like
yeah,
if they
that's
again, if they're coming at them at the same time, it's just the numbers are just so significant.
yeah. Do you think okay? Do you think that like let's say 100 like scuba divers with no weapon against like a killer whale or a great white shark, do you
So
think
yeah, so
there
good
would?
question. At that point, I think you're so far out of your element, you wouldn't be able to do the damage. So it kind of comes like with the elephant thing, where it's like, how do you even do damage to something with like such thick skin and it's so high up and all that stuff? In the water, you're literally just floundering. So I would say
So,
no. I would say in
yeah, in
that
the
case,
ocean for sure. But
there's
like
just
let's say in a
no, yeah,
pool, like and I hate saying these things because I
in a
love killer whales,
pool.
but like but like in a pool, 100 men, because I guess like you could like push the killer whale down. Which again, I hate even the image
I
of
don't
that,
even
but like
know how. We're talking about like an aquarium-sized pool or like a backyard pool.
no, so I mean a killer whale is huge, so I mean it would
Yeah.
have to be at least like at least it would have to fit. So the killer whale can like turn around, like make one like one full like
I, I mean,
spin around its.
yeah, yeah. I don't, I mean, if I'm thinking like a backyard pool where it's literally just kind of floating around, then
Yeah, I
there's,
mean if it cannot move, then yeah, that's a big
yeah.
advantage. But
Um, but what I was also going to say though, what is funny is a lot of these same people who were, these same like where most of the internet is like, oh, like the gorilla to win. If you look at you, if you've seen the memes about Bradley Martin, how he's 260, bro.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So Bradley Martin, big influencer and whatnot,
yeah.
and Candido made the same point where they were like, people will dunk on Bradley Martin and say like, oh, he's a podcaster, he's not a fighter, and I just think to myself, okay, you're saying this gorilla, the reason this gorilla would win is, oh, it's so different, it just overpower you. Again, gorilla's like 400 pounds, a 260-pound, extremely strong, extremely athletic male is going to dominate 99.9% of men on the planet. Like, I guarantee you, Bradley Martin in a fight beats up 99.9% of people. And so, sure, against a literal professional fighter, yes, maybe like somebody who's like 150 pounds could still beat him. But this idea that people say of like, oh, it's easy to explain because one's a fighter and one's like a bodybuilder. It's like, okay, there's a reason there's weight classes, and strength and size have a tremendous, tremendous influence on who wins a fight. I mean, even within professional fighters, you will see people who they really struggle in a weight class. If you look up
Yeah, yeah.
Kevin Holland is a great example. So at 185, he was doing okay, and then he dropped down to 170, much better. There's a Joaquin Buckley is another example, 185, doing pretty well. Now he's undefeated at 170. So even then, 15 pounds can make a huge difference. So anyway, I'm just saying, like, these people who were like saying how, Bradley Martin's like a joke because he thinks he could beat up fighters. It's like, dude, you're 260 pounds lean and strong and juiced and all these things. He's going to beat the vast, vast, vast majority of people.
Although, so I mean, but a professional fight, because the thing is, like, I do think that like let's say Mayweather, who is a well, he's not that small, but I mean, he's definitely on the smaller. Like, he was on one of the lighter weight class. I think maybe welterweight was his highest.
Mm.
So I mean, I think if he hit Bradley Martin in the jaw, like I think the fight would be over. Like, even though,
Potentially, I'm not, yeah, to be clear, I'm not saying Bradley Martin could beat professional top of the world fighters. What I'm saying is a lot of people comment as if, oh, somebody who's got 2 years of fighting experience immediately beats anybody of any weight category.
Oh
and
no.
that's just ridiculous. Like, yes, at the top level, sure, but
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
and again, Bradley Martin himself is extremely athletic, actually does have a few years of jujitsu and other things, like again, low level.
Yeah,
But I'm just saying there's a big difference between somebody who has zero fighting experience and even a couple of years. So that's all I'm
oh
saying.
yeah,
Is
sure.
it's that to act like as if it's just like some fat 260-pound guy. It's a totally different world.
Yeah, by the way, just two short comments. Just because maybe someone in the comments will say it because it was a low hanging fruit. But what do you think about like a polar bear versus how many men would that take? Because I mean that one man is huge, like
Yeah.
it's much bigger than a gorilla.
Right. So yeah, so
Yeah,
okay, and again, that was one of the things with these memes. People are, I don't know, people have this like King Kong idea of a gorilla in their head. Obviously, they're huge. Obviously, they're super strong. But again, a lot of stuff in the animal kingdom will people be like, oh, who wins? Like a tiger versus a lion. If it's a 500-pound lion and a 400-pound tiger, the lion's going to win. If it's a 500-pound tiger versus a 400-pound lion, the tiger's going to win, right? Like weight itself is a huge factor in the animal kingdom, and so like within the same species if one animal is 10% larger, it's going to win almost every time. So,
yeah,
yeah. So anyway, a polar bear. How many men to beat a polar bear in just like a neutral setting, like just like
yeah.
grass or whatever? Um,
Not on the North Pole or
yeah,
wherever the.
yeah. Um, again, I'm assuming that this is like these men are like this polar bear just killed my child, and we are putting our, self at risk purposely just to whatever we can do to kill this polar bear.
Yeah, it's up to
Uh
2,000 pounds almost.
yeah, I don't I think that's probably pretty rare, but yeah, they could be I don't know what the number is, but much more than the gorilla for sure. Like way more than the
Yeah,
gorilla. Yeah. Probably still not
yeah.
100.
It's so. Yeah, it's between 660 and 1,760 pounds.
Yeah, yeah, they're huge.
Yeah.
Um cool.
Yeah, but yeah, like people on Core, I remember people having these raging debates. Well, the killer whale versus great white shark is always like the PP, like it will be just pages and pages,
Yeah. Well, there's
and I
many
actually read them.
instances
That's
of orcas killing gray whites.
so like there's always these pictures and videos circulating, but like none of them seem real. But a killer whale is significantly bigger than the great white shark. It's
Yeah.
just kind of surprising by how much. But yeah, and then people would have these raging debates also over like what would happen against a chimpanzee. And like that's the other like people just have this chimpanzee fetish on
About
these
like a human versus a chimpanzee?
yeah,
Yeah, Rogan
yeah,
has a huge,
hard on for
whole,
chimpanzees
yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing I didn't know, which was informative, how aggressive they are. Like they showed
Hmm.
some pictures of like what they did to some people,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's nasty. Yeah.
It is nasty. I also think people, I like one of the things with animals specifically is that unlike a human where it might just be like you kind of like level up a little bit, a lot of these animals will just go like 0 to 100, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
there's that woman who got like brutally beaten by this chimpanzee and her whole face was destroyed and everything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And it's like this horrible thing, but it's like, okay, that same thing could also have been done by a 150-pound male, just a
Yeah, yeah.
human. Right. If a
Oh
human
yeah.
just went after that woman and just didn't stop beating her, the same thing could happen, which is again all horrible. I'm just saying it's not like and yes, chimpanzees are significantly stronger and all that stuff, but I do think the animal kingdom is sometimes fetishized as if it's like, well, they could lift 20,000 pounds. And it's just like, okay, relax. Like, I don't, but
Yeah.
Candido had some funny commentary on the same thing.
All right, I'll check that out.